Welcome to the project tonight. The shameful way super funds are treating our money when we die. Is your fund among the worst?
Plus, Eddie McGuire is here to sound the alarm about a DeepFake Eddie scam that's ripping off Aussies.
Plus, we're bringing you a feast of celebs when we speak with music megastar Lizzo and White Lotus's Patrick Schwarzenegger.
I'm so excited. And Peter Dutton says he'd rather stay at the PM's second house on the Sydney Harbour than the lodge in Canberra. I mean, Albo, come on, you've got to sort this out. First, he wants your job. Now he wants your house. Next, he's going to come after your fiancée. Look out, Jody. You're next.
We are live from the traditional lands of the Gadigal people, where it's a welcome to Steve Price.
Thank you very much. He's had a big day, Anthony Albanese.
They're all big days now, aren't they?
Hugging babies, but he must be so beside himself. That's the best primary vote for Labor since the last election.
Yeah.
Both polls today have Labor with their nose in front, and everyone would have thought Peter Dutton might have started out in front in this campaign. It's not
What do you
gonna
put
happen.
it down to, Pricey?
I think people are not engaged yet, the public, but let's see what happens in 5
Once
weeks.
they wake up.
This has been a trend, though.
Once they wake up.
From before the election campaign started, the momentum was there.
Yeah.
But there is so long to go.
Yeah, there is 40-something
Far
days.
too early.
I feel like it's been going since the start of the year.
Come on, get excited.
Oh, get
Guys,
excited.
we're
All right,
having
let's get into today's top stories now. And to PM Anthony Albanese, he's been hugging babies on the campaign trail in Perth today. Meanwhile, opposition leader Peter Dutton has touched down in outback Queensland. There he is, to show his concern for those impacted by the current flood disaster. He started the day in the New South Wales Hunter Valley, where he wants to build a nuclear power plant.
In the Hunter and elsewhere, to be honest, people realise that if there's not a replacement industry for coal, then these jobs go.
Family tragedy has unfolded in Sydney, where a 47-year-old woman has been accused of stabbing her 3 children. Their father woke to their screams and intervened. All 3 kids are now in a stable condition. The woman is under police guard tonight in hospital with self-inflicted stab wounds. It's understood that she's the full-time carer for their eldest child, who's a paraplegic.
3 children all attend local schools, a relatively normal family, and if I can say to you, this is probably completely unexpected. There's certainly no domestic violence history reported to police.
In other news, a wealthy lawyer has lost a legal battle to claim squatters' rights over a $2 million property in Sydney's Inner West. Yale Abraham, who reportedly owns a $7 million property in Queensland, claimed to have had lived at the dilapidated Rozelle home since 2011. But the court today ruled against her, finding she hadn't met the legal requirements to take possession from the actual owner.
Yeah.
Sydney real estate, huh?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You can't even squat in a house and get it anymore.
Well, her problem actually was that she didn't squat well enough.
Oh, she's a bad squatter?
Yeah, no, this is literally true.
Yeah, you got to just sit and stay, right?
So this is yes, and you have to act like it's your home.
Oh.
How long for?
12 years in New South Wales, I think it is.
12 years?
If you
12
do, yeah,
years.
so it's called
In a
adverse possession.
dilapidated house in Rozelle.
Hey, look, if you want the mansion,
The
you
rewards
gotta,
are there.
You know that thing, dress for the job you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, live in the house
And
you
in
want.
Sydney real estate, it might be like the best way to do it. I don't know. Like, that's Roselle's an expensive suburb. So what did you say, 12 years?
I think in New South Wales, it's different from state to state.
So does that work for other things? Because, like, you've been at this show almost that amount of time. You've
I've been here longer.
Could you claim this show?
Yes.
No, because he's been coming and going. It's once a week. So the judge would just say, sorry, Steve, you're just a visitor.
But you... So
all yours, Waleed.
12 months' time, you have a legitimate stake to make this...
Tell you what,
the Waleed project.
if I get sacked on the eve of 12 years, you'll know why.
Might send an email to the boss.
Yeah, there you go. All right. What happens to your money after you die? You would hope it's passed on to your loved ones without delay. But today, revelations that the super funds we pour money into for our entire lives are withholding that cash from grieving families.
We're talking about people who've just lost a loved one. They're not ready for a complex bureaucratic process, but that's what they're being subjected to.
Never-ending delays, misplaced paperwork, insensitive customer service. Our super funds today slammed for failing grieving families when paying out their members' death benefits.
Things like losing claims forms and papers that they've already been given, not answering calls. Look, that's really not on, and it's throwing people into financial strife.
Death benefits include the amount of super left in your account when you die, as well as any life insurance payouts. Money that should be passed on to your loved ones ASAP. But a scathing ASIC report has revealed that's not happening. One widow forced to wait more than 500 days for her husband's benefit.
Not only do they suffer the stress of having to engage with a complicated process while grieving, but they may be denied access to money which they may need to pay bills, ongoing living expenses, or even funeral costs.
The damning review of 10 super funds showing less than half of death benefit claims were paid within 3 months. The slowest of the funds only granting 8% of requests in that time frame.
This is an opportunity for super trustees to flex their muscles and fix their failings. This is the super fund's homework, and we'll be watching.
And the review didn't even include 2 of our largest funds, Australian Super and Cbus, which are already being sued by the watchdog for excessive delays in paying death benefits.
At the moment, there's no real protections for people. We're without any kind of mandatory standards.
The superannuation sector today apologising.
I'm really sorry. We haven't really managed to get our processes up to scratch, but we have, over the last 12 months, really made quite an effort to improve that service.
But it's too little, too late for customers like Kathy Clark, who waited more than a year to receive her entitlements after her brother Craig died. Australian Super offering compensation for the delay, $28.99 to be split between Craig's 3 beneficiaries.
Kathy Clark joins us now. Kathy, we're so sorry to hear what you and your family went through, and you were entitled, we understand, to around 80 grand all up. How difficult was it finally to get the money that you were entitled to?
It was extremely difficult. It took approximately 12 to 13 months to get all of the money paid out from 2 different super companies.
What happened in that time?
My solicitor started the process. She was on their back. I've got constant emails from her saying I've contacted them again. We're still not getting anywhere. And then I stepped in and started calling them, double dipping from the solicitor to try and get the ball rolling. And it made no difference. They just kept stalling.
What do you think the delays were due to, do you think, Kathy?
I think it was just poor administration and a lack of staff. That's, you know, I know that times I rang them and I thought, this doesn't sound right. We've all had experience in administration and you know that it's just not that hard.
And you were dealing with the death of your brother at the same time, so what impact did it have on the wider family?
Oh, we were all just devastated because he died relatively quickly and unexpectedly with a sudden cancer diagnosis. And we just wanted to grieve, and yet this was being thrown in our face constantly without the room for closure and to move on.
All that pain on top of the pain that you were already going through, you received compensation in the form of $28.99. I mean, that is pretty insulting. What was your reaction?
I wanted to put it in the bin. I was mortified that they would bring up the whole issue 12 months after the payout, 2 years after he'd passed away, and said, you know, here's a couple of dollars to share between the 3 beneficiaries of the estate for us, and we're just saying sorry, we're acknowledging we took too long. No actual reason for why, just sorry.
Did they explain how they possibly arrived at $28.99 for all this?
They just said that they had I guess, some kind of algorithm or spreadsheet that works out, you know, how many days they considered were too many days, times, you know, the amount, the payout. I can only assume it was vague.
Nothing vague about the experience and everything you went through there, Kathy. Thank you very much for speaking to us tonight. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The governance of these funds has got to be a hell of a lot better. I mean, we're all told we have to put money into super. It's a government regulation. We have all these cheery ads, you know, we're all in this together, and little signs of hearts and saying,
I love that.
we love you.
I could see you deciding not to do the sign.
Yeah, and then someone dies and you've got to wait. One woman waited 500 days to get her brother's her husband's superannuation money.
What do you think's going on?
I think that they know that super's hard to understand, that most people don't devote a lot of time to it. They should, because it's their biggest investment other than their house. And so they think people will just wear it. But, I mean, do you all know that you've got to sign a death benefits form?
No.
I don't even know how to check my super, so...
Well, see, this is my point. And then they're treating people like that and sending them $28. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Australian Super wouldn't comment specifically on this case, but you can read their broader statement on our website.
Got to take a break, but we'll see you very soon.
Sam Kerr will be free to return as Matilda's captain, with Football Australia confirming that she will not face any sanctions for abusing a London police officer during a drunken night out. And although she is still recovering from a knee injury, the 31-year-old has been included in the training squad for the April matches against South Korea.
Having Sam Kerr back in the side, they've missed her goal scoring. She's the all-time leading goal scorer for Australia, and that would be crucial having her back, particularly for a home Asian Cup.
Convicted wife killer Chris Dawson has appeared in court today as he tries to overturn his conviction for an unlawful sexual relationship with a schoolgirl. The 75-year-old claims it can't be proven he and the teenager had sex back in 1980. His lawyers have argued her evidence was unreliable and a guilty verdict unreasonable. If Dawson is successful, the case would go to a retrial.
Now it's time to see what's making news around the world. Donald Trump is threatening Vladimir Putin with 50% tariffs on countries buying Russian oil unless he agrees to a Ukraine ceasefire within the month. Apparently, Trump's upset Putin has been dragging his feet with negotiations and also tried to attack Volodymyr Zelensky's credibility.
You're supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him, so I wasn't happy with that.
More survivors have been pulled from the rubble in Myanmar 3 days after the massive earthquake hit the Southeast Asian nation. More than 1,700 people have died, hundreds more are still missing. International aid has started to arrive, but rescue efforts are being hampered by a lack of equipment. In neighbouring Thailand, the search also continues for 76 workers missing after a half-built high-rise collapsed. And the test launch of a new Spectrum rocket has been hailed a success, even though it crashed back to Earth and then exploded about 30 seconds after liftoff. The test had been billed as the first attempt at an orbital flight to come from Europe. Despite the outcome, the rocket's designers say the launch still provided flight data that'll prove vital for future missions.
Makes you wonder how Apollo 11 got to the moon, doesn't it?
Well, it wasn't launched from Europe.
I wonder that all the time, Pricey.
Do you?
I really do.
You're not a conspiracy theorist.
It is my Roman Empire. But I don't know about this. What did they say, 30 seconds? I've had to explain to a lot of people in my life that just because something went for 30 seconds doesn't mean it wasn't a good time.
It needs your nasal spray, does it, Sam?
Yeah, if you give that rocket the nasal spray, it's going all the way up.
What sort of flight data would be helpful for future launches?
you just get back on the
that
horse.
way?
Yeah, that is useful.
That is
In
very
my
useful.
experience, practice makes perfect.
Thank you, Sam. We're off to a break.
Sport. It gives and it takes. For example, this weekend, my beautiful Dragons beat Waleed's disgusting Melbourne Storm. The take, Waleed...
No.
Now Waleed won't talk to me or reply to my messages.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Hey, it'll be fine. Let's do sports. Getting behind my Dragons. Now, let's go to the NRL to start, where the Titans had a big bloody win over the Roosters. Now, they obviously put the work in the off-season, but I think they should have put more time into learning the new club song. So here they are, giving a bit of a... They've got that to print out the words. It sounds like fee-fi-fo-fum. It's crazy. Unfortunately, it didn't help them because, as we all know, rugby league players can't read. So... I'm tough behind this desk, aren't I? Speaking of singing, guys, Dua Lipa was in Sydney, which is why Pricey came up here 3 days early. Boy, did this doggies fan, I like this, shoot his shot.
I'm from Sydney, yeah. Is there anything you think I need to do while I'm out here that I just missed? Oh, there's so much you gotta do.
Yeah, the Doggies, I love that. Shoot your shot, brother. Take it to a Doggies game after hit the Yumchar at Canterbury Leagues. That is the start of a love story. Tee-off fans, or T-heads as we don't call them here, well, remember last week West Coast number 9 Harley Reid copped a fine for flipping the bird. There it is there. Well, yesterday Eagles fans over in Perth, they showed they had his back with this very touching middle finger salute at the 9-minute mark.
Here we go! Here we go!
That's a whole stadium just giving everyone the finger. I'll tell you what a beautiful community right there. Also, I must have cut off a lot of West Coast Eagles fans in traffic because I see that all the time. Let's talk golf, guys. This is the story of the day. Aussie Minwoo Lee, he chalked up his first PGA Tour win, beating out world number 1 Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy to get it done in Houston. It's impressive stuff, particularly when you consider these crazy hazards the pros are facing. Look at this turtle.
All right, who's going to pick up the turtle? This caddy is...
I had to go to the bathroom. Now, you think it's a turtle, but he actually just caught the Pokemon Squirtle. Now to athletics, because if you thought Lachlan Kennedy beating Gout Gout was the race of the weekend, well, it had nothing on this Battle of the Titans. So here we go, races off. Normal-looking race. Hang on, new entrance. What have we got here? Love it. Move over, Gout Gout. Hello, Bow Wow.
Look at the closing speed.
Look at this. Unbelievable. It's going to pip the winner. Look. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, WADA did test the dog Smackos, and yeah, full of BPO. Terrible, terrible stuff. Finally, guys, let's go to basketball, where it's great to see grandparents supporting grandkids. I love to see it, even if it is sometimes just for half a game. So this is Grandma. You know, when the game finishes at 3, but bingo starts at 2:45. Set a screen, Grandma. It's crazy. She just walked out there. I get it. Sometimes you just got to get out of there. And they would have stepped in and carried her out, but they were worried this would happen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That was... I don't know what that joke is, but it really made me laugh thinking about it.
Yeah. Love to see a bit of excitement at the golf, don't we, Sam? Now, still ahead, it's about damn time she was on the show again. Pop superstar and certified hitmaker Lizzo stopped by for a chat. You're watching The Project.
The big show.
Time for more news now, and both Peter Dutton and Anthony Albanese were back on the campaign trail today, with the opposition leader paying a visit to flooded communities in outback Queensland. The PM was in Perth to announce Labor's healthcare policy plans, but that got overshadowed by questions about the potential Chinese spy ship cruising off the South Australian coast.
We're continuing to monitor it. We won't, for obvious reasons, broadcast everything that we're doing, but we're keeping an eye on this as we do.
Do you have concerns about what it's doing?
I would prefer that it wasn't there.
Ben Robert Smith's lawyers and parents were back at the federal court today as he tries to reopen an appeal against his defamation loss to 9 newspapers. He claims he suffered a miscarriage of justice because of alleged misconduct by journalist Nick McKenzie. The allegation relates to an audio recording of McKenzie and a witness from the original trial.
No, I shouldn't tell you. I've just breached my ethics in doing that. This is where, this is put me in a shit position now.
Last week, Nine issued a statement saying there is no breach of legal privilege or ethical concerns and that it has full confidence in McKenzie.
Shark nets have been removed from 51 beaches along the New South Wales coast today, 4 weeks ahead of schedule. They've been taken down between Newcastle and Wollongong because of increased turtle migration. It's a move that could become permanent, with drum lines, listening stations and drones used instead. A decision won't be made until data from this summer has been reviewed.
Sorry, I'm waiting for you to show that turtle just peeing on the golf course.
That's a really funny idea. Why didn't you tell me before?
Where was that?
Oh, God, can we do that again? This is not live, right? That's fine. We'll go again.
All right. An Indian restaurant in Melbourne has launched a spicy new concept, curry cocktails. It's offering tikka masala, Rogan Josh, tandoori flavoured drinks, and that's not a great review from the audience. The restaurant's cocktail maker says he wanted to push boundaries and create cocktails that are surprising yet delicious.
Push boundaries, you're kidding. Two things that should never go together.
You know where
cocktail and curry.
No good. It'll push you to the
You're
toilet.
a curry expert, aren't you? You love a curry.
I love curry, yeah.
You love a curry. But if we took the
though.
alcohol out of it,
yeah,
would you have a Rogan Josh martini?
A lot of curry is the sauce anyway, so chuck it in a cup and let's go.
It'll be fine.
So you're in favour of it?
Well, I don't know about the cocktail bit. I can't advise on that.
Do you know what else they're putting in curries at the moment? Look at this. This is crazy. You won't believe it.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
You're a bit late.
Did you just do that now?
I literally did that now. I was talking to our boss in my ear. I'm like, get me the clip. Get me the clip.
So is this the rest of the show a competition to use that?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Paddy S a lot in his interview later on.
Well, today on the campaign trail, it was all about housing, and I'm not talking about the nationwide shortage, but which prime ministerial pad our fearless leaders will live in if they win the election.
We would live in Kirribilli. We love Sydney and love the harbour. It's a great city, and so yes, that's the answer. You've got a choice between Kirribilli.
Kirribilli, a 170-year-old Gothic mansion boasting harbour views in Sydney's affluent Lower North Shore.
We're living in Canberra, Canberra in the Lodge.
The Lodge, the PM's official residence, nestled in Canberra's southern suburbs. A more modest 1920s sandstone manor.
It's a jewel in the centre of the capital.
Peter Dutton today unveiling his hot property pick if he becomes PM.
I think we can take Sydney any day over Canberra.
There's a fair bit of hubris behind that comment, I think, measuring up the curtains.
I mean, we all knew Peter Dutton loved Sydney Harbour and he ditches Brisbane for it at every opportunity. Tells you everything you need to know about this guy.
Except Dutton's not the only Liberal leader to shun the Lodge. John Howard, the first to set up shop at Kirribilli. Tony Abbott following suit. Disclaimer the Lodge was undergoing renos, in part due to a possum infestation. While Malcolm Turnbull, also affected by renos, shunned the Lodge and Kirribilli in favour of his Point Piper home.
Malcolm Turnbull's got a lot of money. I think people know that.
Scott Morrison too, preferring his politics with a side of panoramic views.
It could be better, a bit more connected with normal people outside of the Canberra bubble.
I mean, Canberra's probably the place to be if you're going to be in Parliament.
Canberra's a bit of a boring place, so...
While Labor leaders have traditionally stuck with the Lodge. Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard...
Having a wander in the gardens on a beautiful Canberra day.
And Albo.
I believe the Prime Minister should live in the Lodge. You know, everyone likes the harbour, but your job is to be close to where the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet is.
So it doesn't matter where our leader lays their head.
Remote working, it works for most other people. Why shouldn't it work for the PM?
Peter Dutton can choose wherever he would like to live.
As long as he runs the country properly.
I mean, I don't really want him in Sydney because it's closer to me.
As long as he's not near me, I don't care.
Well, news.com.au political editor Sam Maiden is here to tell us which house is better. What do you think? Does it actually matter where the PM lives?
Yeah, look, it does matter, I think, in terms of how they do their job. As you pointed out in their package, pretty much everyone has basically based themselves at the Lodge until we basically got to John Howard, who wanted to hang out at Kirribilli. And to be fair, he still came to the Lodge when Parliament was sitting. I mean, look, it hasn't always been perfect at the Lodge. I did go to a very nice dinner once with Julia Gillard where I was saying how lovely it all looked, and she said, really? Because there's possum urine running down the walls. The mental image has never left me, and not long after we had that delicious dinner with the possum situation, she had to be booted out of the Lodge so they could fix the roof because the possums had just been running rampant.
God damn.
Wow, how good Australia.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Very typical. Sam, this could be smart, dumb politics from Peter Dutton. I mean, he can win seats in New South Wales, so he talks up the harbour and says what a great place Sydney is. But it's a dumb move because obviously what's happened here is you've got the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese saying, oh, he's measuring up the curtains. He's got the people, the furniture removalists are there on the way already.
Look, I think in fairness to Peter Dutton, he was just telling the truth, which he doesn't think Canberra is a very exciting place. And let me tell you, I'm shocked because, you know, we've got the National Library, we've got moose heads, you know.
Yeah, moose heads. Love
like
moose
we've
heads.
got some restaurants that are open after 8:30 at night. I don't know what he's talking about. And I think he just needs to stop being mean to us and, like, come to Questacon and we can, like, you know, go into the bouncy room where they treat you like an astronaut. Like, I don't know what he's on about. You're really exciting.
That room actually does sound awesome.
Yeah, it does sound awesome.
I'm interested in I sort of hadn't twigged until today. that Kirribilli, as opposed to the Lodge, seems particularly popular with Liberal PMs. Labor PMs state the Lodge, the last few Liberal PMs sort of haven't. Is there anything to that?
Well, in fairness, Tony Abbott couldn't stay there because the possum urine renovation went forever. This is a true story. And when he was actually elected PM, he had to hide out in the AFP quarters, like he was living among the AFP in some weird little dormitory. It really got him going. And so he, had to hang out at Kirribilli because they were still fixing the roof. And look, I can't remember the exact reasons with John Howard. It probably had something to do with the kids' schooling as well, that they wanted to have a Sydney base. And that was also the reason, I think, why Paul Keating moved to the Lodge, his whole family, because he had a young family and they wanted to stick together. So look, there's different strokes for different folks. My favourite story about Kirribilli, though, is still the time that when Tony Abbott got rolled, his staff wanted to put a big slippery dip down the hill. That big hill that goes into the thing.
Water slide.
And they were just going to... A water slide, right? And they were just going to have a big old party before Malcolm Turnbull turned up. And there was other stories I can tell you about some of those parties, but I don't think it's appropriate for this hour of television.
We'll wait for the book, Sam.
Sam, you talked about... you've mentioned it quite a lot, this possum urine, quite a lot. I didn't think
made a big impression on me.
Well, of course, but I don't know, there's problems with Kirribilli as well. Have you heard about the turtle problem? I don't know if you could see that, but it was a turtle weeing.
Oh, God. Now it's all happening. But look, they've got Toto the dog.
Oh, that's true.
They have dog problems sometimes, and, there's a lot of there's a lot of flora and fauna. And, of course, sometimes in Canberra, which is very beautiful, despite Peter Dutton's cruel jibes against us, we have actual kangaroos hopping through the suburbs. Again, this is true, near the Lodge. So maybe you could get elected PM and see that.
You've also got all those politicians, though, Sam. Thanks for your time.
They come and they go.
This is a true story. When Paul Keating moved into Kirribilli House, he said to the gardeners, "Why are all these scuff marks in the front lawn?" And the gardener said, "Oh, well, Bob Hawke used to get his 7-iron out and hit golf balls into the harbour."
Are you kidding?
Wow.
Yeah, he used to practice his swing.
Just when I thought I couldn't love that man anymore. That's a beautiful story.
Got to take a break. More Project right around the corner.
Welcome back. Watching The Project.
All right, first a warning to Indigenous viewers. This story includes images of someone who has died. There's been an outpouring of grief for former AFL star Andrew Cracker, who died yesterday at the age of just 42. Cracker, who played for Richmond and Collingwood, passed away after suffering a heart attack at his Perth home. He followed in the footsteps of his father and uncle, Jim and Phil Cracker, who North Melbourne stars in the 1980s.
Well, I think he was just a genius. He just loved the game, found a way to impact and could do, things that other players couldn't do.
Meanwhile, Eddie McGuire is speaking out after he became the latest public figure to have his identity used in a deepfake video. He says scammers used AI to recreate his image and voice to con victims out of money on YouTube. He's urging Australians to stay vigilant when it comes to people asking for cash online.
And Eddie joins us now. Eddie, this is so low. How did you feel when you saw yourself being used in this way?
Well, look, Sarah, it's not the first rodeo I've been through this. We had Facebook doing it a number of years ago. In fact, we sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg. Of course, that remained unanswered. ATSIC are investigating them at the moment. I was involved with Twiggy Forest. So I've been to this rodeo a few times now. But, look, it's not so much, they're stealing my identity, etc., etc. But it's anyone who gets caught up in this, because the last time around, a lot of people did. And that's really why I'm coming on the show tonight, is the only way you can actually get through this is traditional media to say that there is some credibility here, but don't believe what you see on the social media, and particularly look at now because AI is becoming far more sophisticated.
Have you heard from anyone who's been ripped off by this ad in particular?
No, I only found out about this late yesterday afternoon, so hopefully no one. That's why we're on the front foot. I remember when Facebook first started, there were 17 different sites that were proclaiming to be me. I'm not on any social media, so if you see anything social media, it's bogus if it's got anything to do with me. So be careful. They'll steal your money, they'll leave you bankrupt, they'll ruin your life. So just be aware that that's what's happening there. Yeah, get on social media, and there's great parts of it, of course. I'm not anti-social media, but I'm anti-people getting stitched up, and this is the way they're doing it. So watch out.
Steve, you're involved in one of these, weren't you?
Erectile dysfunction, Waleed.
Oh, that's not a good one to get. That's actually not why I was asking. I remember Hellier got erectile dysfunction. It was funny when it was him.
Yeah, I invested heavily in that business as well.
No good. I got the Bitcoin ones, which I was not very happy about. Just while we have you, though, Ed, I want to get you to put one of your other hats on, because very sad news today about the death of Andrew Cracker. Of course, former Richmond and more relevantly for you, Collingwood player. And Collingwood, I think, his life was at a low point, I think, before he went to Collingwood, and seems that Collingwood were pretty pivotal in turning it around. How are you feeling about all that?
I'm really sad, Waleed. I got the news last night from Perth, and when Andrew was incarcerated after his time at Richmond, he got into a family feud and was locked away. And he told me that one night lying in his cell on the top bunk with his nose about 6 inches off the roof as he looked at basically the crack in the ceiling, that he just wondered, what the hell has happened to my life? It's not that long ago I was playing for the Tigers on the MCG. We kept tabs on Andrew, and we found out they have a pretty strong football competition in the jail in Perth, and Andrew was getting himself really fit and really wanted to have one last go at his career. Ultimately, we're able to recruit him to Collingwood, and within 12 months, he'd taken the mark of the year. I think he kicked the second best goal of the year and kicked 3 goals in a grand final, and nearly led the Magpies to a premiership glory, back-to-back premierships in his case. He's just gone back to Perth, and my understanding was he was gardening in his mother's front garden yesterday when he had a heart attack and couldn't be revived. So to everybody in the Noongar community, the Indigenous community, our hearts go out, our hearts are breaking today. Jimmy and Phil, of course, who I know very, very well and have been close to for a number of years, and everyone in football, our heart breaks. At 42 years of age, he had a lot more to give, and to Barbara and the kids, our condolences in this very, very sad situation. Yeah, it's terrible, terrible news. What a player, but also his contribution beyond on field. His absence will definitely be felt. Eddie, thank you very much for speaking to us. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
OK, you're watching The Project. Back after this. Welcome back. This is The Project.
Our next guest says that her latest single is a breakup with the world. Oh. Sorry to break it to you, you've been dumped.
Oh, the world?
Rove sat down with Lizzo to chat about being bad and Baby Yoda.
I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling?
Lizzo got us feeling good as hell, then kept the good times coming. The 4-time Grammy winner went global with larger-than-life, self-assured anthems that hit all the right notes.
Wild men great till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to my face.
And after a couple of years off the tools, Lizzo is back and ready to rock out.
I'm still surviving and I'm still bad, baby. So, bitch, I can't complain. I'm still bad, baby.
Hello, Lizzo. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. Now, your new single, Still Bad, it is out. To me, it's a song about breakup and empowerment. But what does the single mean to you?
The song is a deeply satisfying song for me because I really wanted to write a breakup song with the world. I went with that intent in the studio, just like, the world's not treating me right, And I think we all get to that point where we're just like, yeah, if we really think about it, we have a relationship with the world. And sometimes it can be very toxic. And at that point, I was just like, this isn't working for me. We need to call it quits. And I wrote a song about that. And it feels really good. It's just about recharging so you can get back into the world and face it all again.
Now, I understand that you've only just finished your album 2 weeks ago. Now, is that because you've got someone screaming at you that there's a deadline right now, or is it more that you are finally ready to send this out into the world?
I think it's 2 parts. I think the writing and creating process, I have so much time. And then I think once the songs are turned in and they're being mixed, that's when the label starts to go, okay, when are we gonna get the mixes? So yeah, I was on a mini tour and it ended Wednesday and the deadline for my masters was Thursday. So I flew in at like 2 a.m. and then I had like a really bad toothache, so I had to get an emergency root canal on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. And then I went straight to the studio and mastered it by like noon because I was like, I have to turn this in today because tomorrow's the deadline.
Now, I see behind you your guitar there, and I know that you've been learning the guitar.
Yes, so that's Rogers Nelson, that's Tina Giselle.
Oh, 2 guitars. I stand corrected. You're playing publicly now. How's all that coming along?
Guitar is like really hard. It's hard because it physically hurts. You have to develop calluses on your fingers in order to be able to like make a sound. And I feel like I'm at the point where like if you taught me something on guitar, I could play it. But I can't like sit up and like be like, all right, you guys want to hear Blackbird? And like...
So, is it more difficult than playing the flute? I know it comes with less calluses.
Absolutely. It's just like, ouch, dude. Like, I was sitting and just being like, this blows. Like, every chord, I was just like, ah. And I feel like for me, flute is so natural. It's like designed to go with the flow of your fingers. Sure, there's a few moments that get a little tricky, but like you're doing this. In guitar, you're just like, ugh. And that's really hard for me.
Now, also, what's exciting about learning the guitar is that you're about to head into an acting role playing Sister Rosetta Tharpe. What does it mean to be playing this legendary guitarist for you?
Her life was such a movie and so cinematic. Like, you don't even have to dramatize it. It's all right here. It was such a triumphant moment to be like, we sold it. We finally sold it. And like, now we're gonna bring her story to the world.
It's very exciting, and I'm excited for you to take nothing away from some of your previous acting work, especially on the TV show The Mandalorian. Was that as exciting for you to play as it was for me, a Star Wars nerd, to watch you doing it?
It's like one of those things that I have put in the like, did this really happen to me category. Like babysitting Grogu as like a Duchess of a utopian planet with my husband, Jack Black, is just like, this had to have been a dream because I actually got to hold Grogu all day, and he's just like such a star and like so sweet and cute and so easy to work with.
I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch.
Before we go, I need you to know that I just took a DNA test myself. Unfortunately, mine came back as a 100% pathetic white guy, and I'm just wondering if you have any suggestions on how I could be more bitch next time.
That is wild. You know, honey, you are who you are. The DNA test just doesn't lie, but I think that like pathetic is not genetic. Oh my gosh, that's a bar.
Yes, great.
You can change, honey.
Oh, well, that is a relief. For my sake, I certainly hope so. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Love the single, can't wait for the album. Lizzo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Have a great night or day, wherever, what time it is there. Bye.
Wow, that was
good to say back and forth, isn't it?
I loved it.
The new single, Still Bad, is out now. Do we get more respect as guitarists now?
Yeah, that was very cool.
See how hard she said it was? We're heroes, basically.
We really are.
Our fingers are so firm.
Yeah. All that callousing was for something.
Exactly.
We've got to get to our next guest because he has the whole world talking after last week's jaw-dropping episode of White Lotus.
Patrick Schwarzenegger bears one of Hollywood's most famous surnames, and yet he's carved out a career that's all his own.
This year, I'm so thankful for the lax indecency laws in Eastern Europe that inundate our internet with millions of hours of hardcore.
He's known for everything from edgy comedies to laugh-out-loud superhero satire.
I'm so sorry.
Paddy's also become a bit of an HBO darling, first starring alongside Colin Firth in The Staircase.
You rack up debt, you embarrass us.
I run a successful website.
Now he's got the whole world aghast with his portrayal of entitled eldest son Saxon in The White Lotus.
Hey, you're on TV, aren't you? Yeah, I recognize you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Now, it's fair to say I have the whole world talking.
You do.
With the show and your character especially.
Yes.
But it's only like what was 7 weeks or something in.
Yeah.
Like, how much has your life changed? In 7 weeks?
It's changed a lot, I guess. I now even walking here in Sydney, you have people just running up to you and asking you who dies. You know, that's like
that's
right away.
a normal Sydney thing, though.
Yeah.
That's how we say hello.
Yeah, and people are just yelling Saxon across the street, and it's.
We should point out that's the name of the character.
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's been surreal. It's been fun.
Yeah, this role has been such a turning point for you, right? And we've actually got this great clip of you telling your family you got the role.
Yeah. What did you think?
People might think it's a bit of an overnight success, but you've been slugging it out behind the scenes for a long time. So what does this mean for you?
I have. It's surreal is really the only way to put it. I mean, as you saw with my mom, how excited she was. We became obsessed with the show during COVID.
Yeah.
You know, I lived with my mom, me, my fiance, my mom, which was quite a dynamic, us three in the house. We lived together and we became obsessed with season 1, and then we watched season 2 together. And they were, every time we would watch it, they were like, why didn't you audition for that role? Why aren't you in this show? Why aren't you blah, 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 blah. And so finally I got the opportunity to audition for season 3, and it came true, but at the same time, they make you sign your life away. You can't tell anybody.
Really?
And so
you can't tell anyone you've even auditioned?
No, you can't tell people because they don't want anything getting out. They don't want any information. And so I was so nervous to tell anybody. And then at the table, I was acting very awkward because I found out that I got the job, but I couldn't say anything. And then my mom was like, are you guys pregnant? What's going on? And then that's when I finally said, I told them, and my fiance was videoing it, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, we've got to talk about Saxon. There's people this man that people keep yelling at you about.
Yes.
He is it fair to say he's a bit of a douche?
Yes.
Yeah. No, his character, he's got douche-like F-boy qualities.
Yeah.
He's kind of a little bit unlikable.
Yeah.
Is it hard to know that they wrote that and you auditioned and they were like, that's the guy?
They I didn't even say a word, and they were like that. Mike's too rich of a writer. He's too smart to have this guy be kind of one note, this kind of douche, what you would say, or F-boy, whatever. And I think people are starting to recognize that, you know, once the 5th and 6th and later episodes have come. And it's funny because the first weeks, people would always tell me how much they hated me, and then now they're telling me they feel bad for me, and they're like, they sympathize with me, and all these different things. So it's been a funny kind of roller coaster of how much people love to hate me, I guess. I don't know.
Pity is definitely better than hate.
Yes, exactly.
You must have grown up. You've got movies in your blood. You must have grown up going to movie sets with Dad Arnie. I mean, what was that like? I mean, such a famous name.
I love that. It was, I mean, it was. I guess that's how I was opened up to the industry. Was like that was. I know it's not normal, but for me, it was like that was normal. That was what I would do: is go to set with my dad. He would take me out of school early a lot of the time, and I would go. And this was back when everything filmed in Los Angeles. And I was on set with him, and we would have a break, and he would take me in the golf cart, and we would drive over to, you know, King Kong or to the Jaws ride or to Jurassic. I know, for a kid. I mean, for anybody, it was amazing. Yeah. And so that was just kind of how I got introduced to the film world and became kind of obsessed with it.
So can you remember when you said to yourself, I'd really like to do that as a job?
I think I started when I was a kid doing plays, and when I was, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And then when I got a little bit older, I started to play around. Did I want to do it? My parents really wanted me to go to school and get a degree. And then once that kind of happened, I said, you know what, I'm going to go and give acting a full-time shot.
Hey, just very quickly, I don't know if we have time for this, but someone who knows you is very keen to meet you.
Yes,
Guy Montgomery is a comedian who was on the show last week. This is a plea.
That's you. He has you tattooed on him.
Eddie, legit. Come for a beer with me, man. Hit me up. Instagram DMs. You and me. It's what the people want to see. That's all I'm going to say.
That's incredible. I told him. I said, if you get my face on the other cheek, I will take you for beer.
Well, he probably will, though.
And now we're going to have to look at the evidence.
You can write Lotus and with the O and
Your move, Guy. Season 3 of The White Lotus is available now on Max. In the meantime, would you please thank Patrick Schwarzenegger?
Thank you, guys.
pricey while you're at it. Stick around for Australian Survivor. Catch you 6:30 tomorrow from all of us here.